I'm waiting for it to take us live. Okay, we're live.
Okay, that looks like live now.
Greetings, everyone, fellow sapiens, living, breathing, bleeding human beings. We're back again thanks to a time glitch. Julian in Mexico has already gone through the cutting off the foot of the blanket, the end of the blanket, to sew it on the top to make a longer day, and so we were off by an hour. So we're back here with a second musing today. So we're welcoming Julian Katari, another sacred warrior from Mexico, into the studio today to muse about the principles of natural law, principle number 1, mentalism and sacred time. Welcome, Julian.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's lovely to see you and be here and share with you. So take the lead, Ingrid. Take me to it. Take me.
Well, in the video I just did, I mused about the principle 1 of natural law, mentalism, that how thoughts become things, are reality, and how the importance of taking responsibility for everything we think and everything we speak. And I gave some examples of having this actually manifest in my life. So if you have any musings to share on mentalism, to expound further on that.
Yeah, well, I really focus a lot on the programming. We can mentalize many things, and we can think, we can want to attract things, we can be conscious about the principle of mentalism and want to use it to our advantage. But sometimes we don't see the mental structures we are trapped in, right?
Right.
Kind of like the language we use to think, and it's very interesting, the our belief systems and the way we perceive reality. It's all mental also. It's a whole mental construct.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. It actually, I have a book. I have many books, but I have a book that the title is Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. And what that means is that when you look down on a waffle, you see boxes, right? And the reality is that we all have a masculine side of us, and we all are in boxes where we have created this grid for ourselves of our beliefs that were programmed into us, but we don't know. A lot of us are unaware that they were programmed into us, and yeah, that's all part of mentalism. So it absolutely comes to be part of creating with our words that we speak, and the thoughts that we think is our belief patterns, our belief grid that keeps us in a situation of comfort, in our little box of comfort.
Yeah, and it determines sometimes how we feel. I mean, I've been able to observe how a belief can, you can really change when you try and change your belief system and your mental structure and the language you think through. You can get to the point where what you thought was a feeling, right? I mean, your feelings are also shaped around that belief. So if you change the belief, then you don't feel the same way. You don't need to feel the same way, and you can break all the patterns of living this situation because you felt this way, and it just breaks all the patterns. That's why for me it's so important to try and teach new belief systems and new cosmologies and new systems of interpreting the cosmos, because that's what can break everything else. That's what can guide everything else.
Well, I think that segues naturally into talking about bringing in natural time, weaving in natural time here, which is that word weaving is absolutely important, because we'll get into it. I think it's principle 3, that is vibration. Everything is a waveform. So we can think of it as a harp, maybe, of weaving in. We're weaving in these textures, and if we stay in a box guided by 1260 time, 12-hour day, 12-hour night, 60-minute time clocks, 12 month of the year, we get woven into this box. But when we expand to start sensing the rhythms of the universe and sense the cosmologies, and understand that we are embedded in a sea, a living sea. I mean, Mother Earth is swimming through I was challenged by a book I read, to, at sunset, just kind of and at sunrise, to take a minute and see if I could feel, imagine our globe as a giant blue whale swimming through the cosmos, and feel her at sunset peeling away from the sun, diving deep into the murky blue waters away from the sun. And that's doing that a couple times has totally changed. It's expanded my neural net to put new experiences into my field.
Wow, it sounds awesome.
So beliefs, speaking on that also, I read by Ramtha last week, you can manifest anything that you can accept, which goes back to our beliefs. So when I was working on bringing this farm in Oklahoma into reality, and we were still sitting in Washington State, I had a farm that I wanted, a piece of property 3 miles down the road from where I am now. And I had a friend, I was like, it's the house, I walked onto that property and was like, this is it. But they wanted over $300,000, and my financing source was only willing to give $300,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend ask me, what's holding you back, Ingrid? Is it because you feel like you don't deserve that place? And I said, yeah, I guess I do, because it's so nice. And because at that moment, I accept it. I accepted the possibility of moving to Oklahoma, and the universe responded by giving me the $5,000 I needed. But I didn't actively say, I can accept this property. And so it disappeared out of my field of vision, out of my wavelengths, my network, my matrix, right? My grid, my personal weaving. And that statement that I read last week has just opened up a whole new field of this mentalism for me, because if you can't accept something, it's not going to come into your life. No matter how hard you try to manifest, no matter how many people's programs you purchase to change yourself, if you cannot accept what it is you want, then it's not going to come into your life.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, if we put it into context, the reality that people are living in, the slavery reality, I mean, that's what I like about Mark Passio and his teachings of the Hermetic principles, because he doesn't lose that context of the slavery system. Because you can, if you're programmed into that system, then anything you want to manifest is kind of wrong. It's you're trying to be part of that. You're manifesting to be a slave. I mean, who wants to be a slave?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, you're right, and we think it was just the blacks that were slaves, the people of black skin color. so because it's not my intention to offend anybody. They think historically they have the corner on the market maybe of that, because it was so rampant in America, but not just in America, all over the world. However, Harriet Tubman said, I saw this quote, I could have guided more slaves to freedom if I could have only convinced them they were slaves. And that is absolutely the state we are in right now. I talked to a friend last night and I told her, you know, if you want to quit working, I can show you how to dissolve your debt. And she's like, oh, I could never do that. Really? So you like being slaved to money, to the need to go to work, to make money, to be stressed, to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We can't guide anyone out of slavery if they're not willing to acknowledge, if they're not willing to accept that they have been enslaved by the money, time clock, machine, dead earth hologram system.
Yeah. Yeah, and any law we try to use, any law of attraction, that I find it, that's why Mark Posse calls it the true law of attraction, because you know, anything you want to attract within that system, even if you learn all this stuff and you become very knowledgeable about this, and you might think you're very powerful and so forth. You know, I get the example of young wizard girls, right, living in the system and still getting, they're still getting programmed, even though they think they're getting illuminated, they think they are being awakened, they are awake, they're conscious, they see the system, they might even think that they're free from the system somehow, but at the same time they haven't fully deprogrammed. And maybe you need to share that, Ingrid. You need to, we need to tell people that it's, you know, it's a decision to become free of the system, but at the same time there's a very lengthy process of deprogramming and of destructuring and of letting go of old mind structures and finding the new structures to replace that with.
Well, you know, yeah, I mean, it's a state of sleeping, called sleeping consciousness. I think Mark Passio referred to it as willful ignorance. It's like, oh, no, I'm awake, but I've still got to make money to live. So I can't possibly come to warrior training because I've still got to make money to live. Well, when you come to warrior training, you have no expenses. You're here, right? You're on my farm. You have no expenses. So why do you need to make money to live? You have a place to stay. You have food. You bring your clothes. What more do you need, right? But, oh no, I've got to make money. I've got to make money, and I've got to have my mountain bike, and I've got to have my boyfriend, and I've got to have my dog, and I've got to have this. That is absolutely and totally consciously sleeping, willfully ignorant. Because I've also heard someone else say, well, there's not enough people doing it yet, so I'm just going to continue on the way I am. That is absolutely and totally consciously sleeping.
Yeah.
It's not until, and I'm not saying money is evil. It's not at all. But it's a stream. It's a thing, a belief system that has been invented by humans. There is no other place in nature where you see money. It's a Aini reciprocity system, give and take, give and receive. And so if we open to the possibility of living beyond the need for money, if we can accept that there's that possibility, it will manifest in our lives and we won't need money.
Yeah, and that's what will make us free eventually. Not needing that, because I see in that money system, you'll find people that they will smartly argue that money is, you don't need to be enslaved by it, but it's good to have it. And to me, it's an exchange system. That's where the slavery is located at, because anytime you trade your energy, your work for that money, I mean, to my accounting, energetic spiritual accounting, you lose a whole lot of energy. It's just uh, amazing. So people think that they're getting a fair trade when they use money as an means of exchange, but to me, I see that they are losing a lot of their energy because they are fixated and using that means of exchange, and because there is no it's not easy to use another means of exchange, because it would mean getting out of the system. It would mean rebuilding, reconstructing communities that use other means of exchange, which don't exist really, or if they do, they're very small and very scarce. And
Yeah, well, that's, that brings to mind Michael Tellinger and his Ubuntu contributionism movement, that he's trying to raise $10,000 a month for. I'd like to see the village that's living in contributionism before I even give him money. Right?
So he, yeah.
That brings me to the concept that, we all are created equal. It doesn't vary on our skin color. We're all humans. We are all a reflection of Great Spirit, the divine source energy, whatever you want to call it, the Tao, the Veda. We are all a reflection of that. So we are all equal. But we place ourselves willingly in these caste systems. And one big caste system is, I have the ability to pay for it and you don't.
Mm.
Right? That's where the quotes global elite think they're so much better than us because they have so many more digits than we do. But really, I feel that it's a lot more freeing to not be in this. Yeah, there's so many layers to the slavery system, to take yourself out of this caste system. And here's the other thing that I read that came to me through reading. Some people can directly channel. I read. That's my mode of receiving inspiration and channeling wisdom. Was that you could either, okay, life is all about the experience, about the journey. Because when we get to where we are manifesting ourselves to be, there's more manifestation to happen. And I didn't understand that either with this farm when I got this farm. But so you can, let me take this farm, for example. Okay. You could sit in focus for however long you feel inspired to sit and focus for 3 days, experience the thought of being on the farm, being in warrior training, and then let it go, and it'll come to pass. Or you could try to buy your way into it, and then it's controlled. Then it's controlling you because you had to pay for it. So I'll give you that example. I did not know this back when I was on this journey of purchasing this farm. So I got the financing and I paid for it. And yes, for 2 to 3 years, the land then very much controlled me, very much became my owner. And not just the land, the debt, right? Because I paid for it. And we have, this is another layer of belief system that keeps us in slavery, is believing that we have to pay for things. It's all about the worthiness, right? We paid, it's that karma thing with the Catholics get off on big time. Confession, right?
It's also believing in human law, being the
Exactly.
ultimate law.
Right. Right.
Where, oh, if I don't pay my debts or I don't follow the law, I'm breaking God's law. I'm breaking, you know, I'm doing bad if I don't follow the law.
Well, you know, and that's there's that Bible verse that render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and so even the religions will be like, well, paying taxes is rendering unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. No, 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 no. And I had someone ask me the other day, well, how would our infrastructure be built if we didn't pay taxes? I don't know. I don't have that answer, but all I know is that our taxes go straight to the Vatican. And is the
That has
Vatican
an
building our infrastructure? No.
that has an answer, a very simple answer. You look at the big empires. I don't want to use that word, but the Semanahuac, the Aztecs, and the Tawantinsuyo, the Incas. They had infrastructure. That was the point of those quote unquote empires, was having some type of national level infrastructure, some type of uh, I don't want to use the word government, but it was kind of like a government that made many good things, right? They had, for example, a seeds exchange, a system of crop improvement, right? They would gather food for, in case a village would have some type of shortage because of the weather, some type of crop failure. They could then give food to that village, and they would build roads, and they would have very good roads. I mean, amazing roads down there in the Andes, roads that are still there.
There.
And all that was built. Um, you know,
Without
they were
taxing.
there. No, they were something that was similar to what we know today as taxes, but they were actually built on the system, the INE system, which is everybody works for the same cause, and so
Right.
I mean, there's an answer. We don't need this whole governmental thing, and I mean, just eliminate the military, and you know, you want to do something about climate change or about stopping pollution or stopping waste and all of that. It's 40% of that is caused by military. If you talk about spending, it's also mostly military, right? So that's the evil part. Or the most evil part, I think, is the military, the and this
Well,
and which is necessary to keep everything else, because that's what it's based on. It's based
right. Yeah. If there's no
aggression.
wars, we don't need military, right? So the military industrial complex wants to create wars.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what needs to, could really go, and doesn't need to exist. And as far as infrastructure, we can get together and build it together, and we can join our energy and
Exactly. Well, that takes me to the Spanish Mondragon Cooperative, that when they first started, they were operating outside of the matrix and the dead Earth hologram matrix, and they, I don't know if it's still, I haven't researched them recently, but it was that everybody that became a co-op member had to give 1% of their earnings or something like that to the central head. And that central cooperative head, the government, I guess, their board, would then supply healthcare, infrastructure, etc., all that stuff, and for their co-op members. So that's another way. It's all, again, all working for the same source. But for the same ideal, but none of us are working for the same ideal because we're all working on creating our own empire to pass down to our children, with the bottom line being profit, money. And as long as cleaning up our waste is driven by money, it will never be cleaned up.
Yeah.
That's just a simple fact.
Yeah. I have a very good example too, with my village. You know, we are about 20 kilometers short of road, right? So if you want to get to where I'm going to have my village, there you can drive from town. It's 70 kilometers to the end of the road.
And
It's a
then you got to hike 20.
dirt road, and then you have a hike. You have to hike, and there's so that one of the main things we need to do is infrastructure is clear a little bit that path so that a vehicle can enter all the way in
Yeah.
there, and that's it's kind of like that's the first must thing before we can do anything. It's that infrastructure.
Yeah.
And nobody is and you know, the people that are in this, which by the way nobody has money, we're all like, they're all like sitting, oh well, somebody needs to come help us. We have, I mean, we have a reserve with the highest biological value in the world. Somebody must want to come help us. Somebody must want to give us money for a project. That never happened. And we really need to come down to realize that we need to do it ourselves without money. I mean, we really need to see ourselves like our ancients were. I mean, did our ancients have some bank or some external financing system, or they didn't even have machines, right? They didn't have like a World Bank that could finance millions, and so you can just bring as many machines and resources and you can build dams and bridges out of the blue. I mean, that didn't exist. People needed to think about building stuff from scratch and from nothing and just from their own effort. And I get this teaching from you, Ingrid, when you say that the earth needs to see us prove that we want to do this without the money, without having that, you know. And that's what has happened all along. Even if we've wanted to attract, and we come back to the mentalism thing, we've been wanting to attract the money for this project, and we can think, wait, this is a good thing. Why don't we get money for it? And that's what it comes down to. Mother Earth wants us to do it with our hands, not with money, not with the evil money.
She wants to see that we're willing to load all our livestock in our truck and get on the road, right? And sit, right? And then I sat at various places. Maybe it would have happened faster had I been willing to accept, but I didn't know the teachings at the time. And I know it happened all in divine timing. And everything I have done here, I've had been the last man I was just in relationship with, he wouldn't dream anything with me because he wanted to see the money first. And that's everything I've done in the last 5 years here sorry, I'm looking out the window to make sure my dogs aren't attacking ducks. It has been do it first. Set your feet on the path first, and then the money started coming in, right? And it doesn't always come in the form of money. It comes in the form of other things.
Yeah.
So, you know, this summer it was all since last spring. It's been like, my gosh, I'm so tired of all that. We receive tons of food from the food bank for the pigs. With that comes a lot of waste. And I'm like, this is awful. I am so tired of sending all these trash, these 2 and 3 huge buckets of trash to the landfill every week. What can I do to start diminishing this trash? Well, so then Spirit brought me the idea of eco bricks, and I started stuffing empty milk jugs, which I get a plethora of empty milk jugs from the food bank, started stuffing them with trash. So now I have all these eco bricks sitting around waiting for the time we start building, start making adobe mud. And I started collecting wine bottles too. And right now it seems like that has all come to a screaming halt because of the weather, partly because of stuff going on in my life. And I know it's not fully at a halt. It's just that the universe, the spirit guides, the invisible energies wanted to see me do it without needing anyone else here to do it with me, without needing the money, without to just start doing it. And that's the biggest, I think, beyond accepting. Just start setting your feet on that path. Start doing in little tiny ways. That doesn't seem like it makes a difference.
Yeah, but I want to connect this teaching you're giving with mentalism and the fact that the mentalist nature of the universe is not solipsist. It's not only our own mental creation. Rather, there is we're part of the mind of the whole, and it's kind of like that mind of the whole has its own mind, right? So even if we want to see something one way and say, oh, this has got to happen this way and this is got to be like this, we end up discovering that, call it the spirit, the sacred spirit, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, says, no, I want it this way. I want to see you do this. I want to see this happening for this to manifest.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting part of mentalism and of being aware of mentalism. And to me, that was the crucial part of awakening, was actually being able to listen to an external mind, and opening to an external mind, which wasn't really my own. And that's what I call the sacred spirit.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Becoming a vessel and understanding that. So I told you, there's a local gem shop here. And they both do, one does off-body energy work and one does readings, the two owners. And I went for a healing in July, just before I went to spend time with my mother on the anniversary of my dad's passing. And he told me, he had looked at the website and he told me, Ingrid, you're never going to live that dream unless you start doing something different. Pissed me off. I walked out of there. I was pissed off the whole way, right? But I realized he was true. He was right. I was never going to realize this dream of the living network, establishing this living network of 610 self-governed, self-sustaining, self-supporting, Commonwealth regenerating villages on all 7 continents over these next 21 solar cycles, if I didn't start focusing, if I wasn't willing to let go of my little box here. It's very comfortable. I want help, but on the other hand, it's very comfortable just to operate by myself, right? Then it doesn't get messy.
Yeah.
With other humans. So I said to him, well, when I got back, I said, well, even before, I said to him, well, it's true. I've been feeling the need to go into a 2.5 hour meditation, daily meditation, to focus on this. From what I learned, the 2.5 hours comes from what I learned in yoga, Kundalini yoga. And I said, I'll do that when I get back from my trip. But I have a hard time sitting still for 2.5 hours, just chanting, right? So would it be okay? Would it still be considered meditation if I'm stuffing eco bricks, stuffing trash in milk jugs while I'm chanting and meditating and focusing? And he's like, he looks at me and is like, well, why wouldn't it be? You got that idea from spirit. And that was the first that I've ever, I guess, that I've ever finally visibly said, oh, these ideas, these bright ideas I have are coming from spirit. They are. They're not originated in me. I mean, they're brought to focus in me, but it's the universe nudging me. It's those omens.
Yeah. And it's so amazing you say that, because in the circle of medicine, the Círculo de Medicina, which I'm creating the courses, one of the courses, one of the teachings, it's called Meditación Ruay, which is called a translation from Quechua. Ruay is work or labor meditation. And in the Andes, you'll exactly what you described. You'll find it as a big teaching. They probably look at Eastern folks, or this concept of sitting and for a long time meditating, and they probably think, well, don't they have anything else to do? Don't they have work to do? And so they have this, they do know the sitting still meditation. They do that. They'll find unique places in the mountains, and they'll sit there, and they'll speak a lot too. They'll pray. They also have something called the amuki, which is this silence. So they do have this silence meditation. But then they have all of these other type of meditations, which is the Ruay meditations, which is things that you do when you work, right? So when you meditate is when you work is when you meditate. And it happens to me that the moment I get the most clear mind, or I solve something that I want to solve, it's when I'm washing dishes, or I'm doing something that is repetitive, and it really allows me to get into a state of meditation that I can't get there, not even if I go into an altar and sit still.
Right. Well, it's also, and this is, I've heard when I was first guiding some people in a sacred warrior training, which has endured many iterations, gone through many changes. One of them told me, it was a person in Washington State. Seems to be a common theme. Well, I'm just so lonely here. We moved up here from California, and I'm just so lonely here. I'm looking for my tribe. And this human, had a 3-hour drive from home or an hour drive from home to the ferry, and then a ferry ride of an hour, and then however long on the road from there to the actual work site. And that was twice a day. And I said to this person, well, you know what? As the money started opening up, the more thankful I became, and the more I just did, the more the money started to open up. And then I could buy these courses from the Shift Network and stuff, and I would download them and put them on my phone. And at this time, Alexis, my daughter's truck, wasn't running. So I would drive 2.5 hours to Norman on Friday to pick her up and take her back Sunday evening to college. And when I was in the truck by myself, that time became my time. So that was meditation. Right there was listening to Don Oscar, Miro Quesada, Carolyn Meese, whatever inspiration I could find to listen to that I could put on my phone, I listened to. And then I even started doing it while I was out at work. And they became my community, my tribe, even though I didn't have humans here. I didn't wait. And that's the other thing is we're always waiting for it to manifest instead of just putting our feet in the direction and doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I did that, the more it expanded my neural net. And you're going to hear me talk about that lots. The neurons that fire together get wired together, and they get soldered together pretty damn securely the more we repeat the same thing over and over. But when we start doing new things, that soldering can dissolve, and your neural net can get more and more and more expansive into the field of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you expand your neural net, the more experiences you can have. And that's what this life is. It's all about the journey, not about the accumulation of stuff. The accumulation of stuff can happen. The coming of stuff can happen while we're experiencing the fun of, okay, well, this is my tribe. And my tribe is also the pigs and the goats and the donkeys and the cattle and the, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so it's we get stuck again. This box, this grid. I've got to sit in one spot. This is what TCM teaches. Twice a day, you got to come to the same chair, sit in the same position for your 20 minutes of transcendental meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that potentiates energy, but you can do that TM out there too. Right. Yeah. While you're working, while you're slopping the hogs, while you're washing dishes. Absolutely. And that's where you get into that 0 point, that zero field, zero space of being in line with source.
Yeah. Well, I think they call it, and you probably won't like the term I'm going to use, mindfulness.
I like the term timefulness better.
Okay. Timefulness. So, about this, I was curious about the men being waffles and the women being spaghetti. So, how are the women spaghetti? I mean, kind of got the idea of the waffles.
Well, because our women men like to take things in small pieces and boxes, right? They're comfortable in their garage or right? But women, we can be taking the kids to school. It's my brain. I'm kind of squirrely, right? And I've had to laugh because I've been told I'm like a squirrel and I need to slow myself down and be less squirrely. But I was introduced to 5 angels as my personal angels, and one of them is Archangel Gabriel. He's my angel of intellect. And so a few weeks ago, I asked him, how do you manifest in 3D form? If you want to bring me a message in 3D form, what do I look for? And right then a squirrel appeared on the fence. And I was like, I about fell over laughing. I'm like, okay, I'll continue to be a squirrel. This means running around and picking up this nut and maybe dropping that one. And women tend to, like a plate of spaghetti, the noodles are all interwoven. They all go.
Yeah, not being so methodical and yeah, I get a lot of that. You know what? I use astrology to guide me sometimes, especially to know myself. So I have a moon in Gemini, right? So I'm supposedly very how to say dispersed, mentally dispersed. And I get that. I mean, I'm listening to a person speak, and I can't help but just start working inside of my mind, thinking about something, and at the same time, I'm listening to that person. And so I have this ability to think 2 things at the same time, or even more. And I get that a lot where I'm in my life. Instead of finishing this thing, I'll go on to this thing, and then I want to go into this thing. And I stopped fighting that, and I actually everything I do, I kind of don't don't find a written method for it. I kind of just write my own method for it. So
But
when I wrote my, what's that?
that's how our DNA works. It doesn't operate. It takes pauses. It goes off here, it goes off there. It doesn't go the same direction. It's how we're meant to be.
Yeah. And it works for me. Being this person, mentally like that, and starting to do something here, and then I'll on to this, and then come back to this, and all of a sudden I did everything.
Yeah.
And I was able to do everything, and to me it's that's how I also have been able to learn so many things, and develop so many skills because of that mental thing that some other viewpoints would say, oh, that's not a good thing. You need to
become more mindful, right?
you need to concentrate and be more like a waffle.
Yeah. Yeah. Live in this grid of boxes. No, we can all become like spaghetti, which is a rich tapestry of following a waveform for a little bit, and it might end, and that's okay. It's,
Yeah.
That expands our neural net to let the tree expand.
Exactly. That's what happens. You find new ways of doing things, and for example, I'll lose something, right? Let's say a pen or something, and I can get very methodical and start looking for it. Okay, it needs to be here, and if it's not here, it's because I put it here. And I try to use this rational process to find it, and I won't find it, right? And so now I have another technique, which is, since I'm coming back to animism, and everything is animated. So I'll say, oh, that thing, it wanted to go for a walk, right? It's my pen. Oh, that she don't want me right now. And so I'll say, okay, I'll let you go. Go ahead and take a walk. I don't care. So I'll go into another thing, and I'll go into the next thing, and I'll go into, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? Oh, I need to put this in place. I need to whatever. And there I find it, what I was looking for. Not until I let it go, and I let go of my whole rational process of finding it. I find it. It's crazy.
I like that. I'll try that also. Another thing I've found, because we operate in our reptilian brains at serpent level, 99.9% of the time, the majority of us. And so when we're in serpent level, the only thing that catches our attention is movement. And so I have realized that. And when I lose something, instead of allowing myself to get frantic because or when something seems to be misplaced, most often my phone, I have learned to slow myself down and come into Jaguar and even Hummingbird, and just slowly walk through the house and just observe instead of waiting for that movement, knowing that that's a stress response. And invariably, I always find then what I misplaced.
Yeah.
But I like that idea too. I'm going to try that from now on. Okay, well, my phone wanted to take a walk, so goodbye.
It's an easy thing. I mean, you can call, and it's big. No, you have to try with a smaller thing.
Yeah, but you're forgetting I'm here by myself 90% of the time. So if I'm missing my phone, no one can. I can't say, I can't holler across the house and say, Alexis, call me.
Yeah. Yeah, and the phone is stressful because it's such a valuable thing, and it's.
I just thought of that because that's most often what I'm like. Where did I put that?
It's not as easy. I mean, because I'll lose like a brush or a pen or something that is not so valuable, and I really have to come to the point where I just say, I don't care if you're gone. Okay, I'm done with you. I'm through you. And that's when it appears. That's when it comes back, when I let it go.
Well, and some people might say, yeah, that point is very valid. And then some people might say, well, that's silly. Okay, I'll take, for instance, the last thing I misplaced was scissors, and I still haven't found them. So I'll do that. Okay,
Yeah.
black handle scissors. You want it to, I'm done with you. I don't need you anymore. And I bet I'll find them. And people might say, well, that's silly. Scissors are metal. They can't talk. They're matter. And that's where we'll get into the principle. I think it's number 3, that everything is vibration. We'll get into that, but just because something's hard, cold, and solid doesn't mean it doesn't have energy, that it's not still composed of energy. And that's where the animism that you talked about comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can really tell you where it is, and it can or you can find your way to it when you kind of tune into, just tune differently into tune out of your stress of finding it.
Right, exactly. Of the desperation of I've got to have it now.
Yeah, that's what you have to let go. Once you let go of that, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna use the scissors right now. They're gone. I lost them. What's the next thing I need to do? Okay, I need to put this place in order. Okay, and start putting that place in order, and there it is. That's what happens to me all the time.
The other thing I think is there's elemental invisible beings all over us and around us everywhere. And some people would call them fairies, other, tiny people, tiny beings. There's the big entities like the angels and the archangels and the cherubim, and then there's the little ones, the tiny little ones, and they can play tricks on you too when you're not paying attention, when you're not living an animated life. They will, and they'll remove things from you. Absolutely. So it's also tuning, and I'm going to start, tomorrow's a new moon. So we're starting with this new moon. I'm starting a new calendar, a new year. And it's also my intention with this new year to really start actively engaging with the little beings, the fairies, the fae, the Devic world, right? At the elemental world. So that will be part of the animism. That's bringing more animism into my life even.
That's wonderful. I was not too long ago seeing fairies. I kind of opened a little bit into that world. Thanks to love, because I was in love for a few weeks not too long ago. And I was seeing fairies. I was seeing fairies.
I think, Julian, you just hit on the most important thing is when you open to love, it's that honeymoon effect, right?
Yeah.
When we open to being in love, then then all these elementals that are without form can take form for us, and we can see so much more than the 1% that our vision actually takes in.
Yeah. And curiously, that this girlfriend of mine, she considers herself a fairy, and she says I'm an elf.
That's funny.
So we're all part of that world. That
we are, and it's really important to bring animism to the forefront again.
Yeah. I can hear your dogs. They're calling you.
they're outside. that shows you how noisy they are.
Yeah.
So, well, and the other interesting thing is living in sacred time. I've told you, I've added now the elements, and working with the Chinese 5 elements, which are the 5 phases. And the tercenas of the Mayan calendar are waves, but we tend to we tend to view things like I've seen in some Facebook groups I'm in. Well, what time of day is the next new moon or the full moon? When does the full moon happen? And this is also what I've come to understand, that with watching the sky, is it doesn't just happen in the blink of an eye. It's a experience, right? It's a wave. So you've got to
Yeah,
learn to tune into the wave. So
and
as
not
I'm
the
tuning
point.
into the bigger wave of the rhythm of the universe, which is the elements, the seasons, I realized that I had also, even though I was starting to work with them, I had said, well, okay, so the autumnal equinox was the I'll take it as the start of the earth, the coming into center phase. Before, and the ancient Chinese Neijing said that the earth, we come to center 18 days at the end, for 18 days at the end of each element, at the end of each season. And so I started that with the autumnal equinox. Well, and there was a marked difference, right? There was definitely a marked change in weather with that. And then 18 days later, there was a marked change. And so I'm like, okay, now we're in fall, we're in the metal element. And then all of a sudden we had close to 18 days into the metal element, we had which was last weekend, it was really hot and humid again. And that's when I was like, Ingrid, you're attacking this. And you're not attacking, you're going at this with the same mind frame of what time of day is the full moon.
Mhm.
Thinking that Mother Nature, things just stop and
Slices.
start, right? So then I
Yeah.
realized that I was feeling the last of the fire element of summer leaving. And this weekend it is cold. And I'm feeling the wave of water element winter start building. Meanwhile, we're in the element autumn phase, which is a drawing down, and winter will be even more of a drawing down.
Mhm.
So it's a very cool journey. I'm very much in love with the journey and the experiences I'm experiencing.
That's such a profound teaching. Not look at the slices of time, but look at the wave, the whole process. Nothing's comes at a point. Everything is a wave. I mean, that's one of the other principles too. Everything is vibration. Everything.
Exactly. So this is part of sacred warrior training, is learning to sense into the rhythms first, which is the elements. Then we can add the harmony or the melody, which would be our sun cycle. Like I'm in my 53rd sun cycle. So what is the melody of my cycle? But what is the bigger melody of the whole universe, the whole earth cycle? And then we can add the harmony, which would be our sun, our moon, our planets. And then we can get it even more nitty gritty and come into the day signs of the Mayan calendar. And I think this is where I've decided with warrior training is I'll introduce the day signs of the Mayan calendar and Cherokee sacred calendar, but we're not going to focus on them. We're first going to learn how to feel the rhythm.
Okay.
And then add the harmony and the melody. And then we can, because then the day signs are like, a Teresena is a week, even though it's 13 days long, it's a week. And so then the days are like the hours of our lives, right? Instead of, it can totally change the way we view a calendar. And in the one I just did by myself, I talked about how time is quantum foam. And if we can start seeing this, if we can start feeling this energy, starting with the rhythms and then bringing it down to the smaller, to the day rhythms, the hour, the hours of our lives is a whole day. I think we really feel into that quantum foam.
That's amazing. So you are the path into the quantum foam.
Yeah, Yeah.
Believe it or not, folks, it's not some guru, it's not anywhere else. It's because what we empower is people. It's not the money system. It's not. I mean, I get this teaching from you so big where if when you pay for something, it's the money that does the work and not you. That's such an important teaching that everybody needs to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for putting it in those words, Julian. Right. Right. That just brought it home even more. When you pay for something, the money does the work.
Yeah. So let's invite people to do the work, and
that's the other reason why I feel like maybe that's the reason why we're at this extinction event. And people are saying the entire world is no. It's only humans that are ready to go extinct because our waste is taking over. Our waste products are taking over. And that's when the book you're getting from Lynn Margulis will explain that in her Gaia chapter. And we're at this because we haven't, we think we're awakened because we purchase a course.
Yeah.
And then we might, and I do this too, but sometimes something I've purchased is not priority, and I'll get to it another time. So I'm okay with that. But the things that are really important, even if I pay for them, I get them done now because I've come to that understanding that I'm not letting money work for me. I'm not letting my money do the work so I can be unconscious.
Yeah, and it goes for healing as well. I mean, people don't want to face the healing process. They want to pay for something that will do it for them.
Exactly, and they don't want to let go of the suffering.
Yeah, and face their demons and let go of their demons and let go of that husband you mentioned. I mean, that's such
that partner. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, in my case it was like I told you, the last one had 4 wives.
4 wives.
Yeah, I was number 5 or 6 depending, or maybe even 7 sometimes. And I never understood why I kept telling him that until, but, and that, now that I say that, I can see the deep knowing that was already there because I was so open to source. I was willing to speak words that I had no clue where they came from. And those words came from source. And once I spoke them, then the evidence started coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the most important thing I just taught myself.
Being open to source and
when you're willing to accept.
Letting go of the victim of the suffering. It's a choice. It's a thing you do in 5 minutes because everybody's like, oh, I'm working on it. I'm living my process.
I'm in therapy. No, that means your victim is in therapy right there, and you're therapizing your victim. You're not therapizing yourself.
You're not letting go, and I stick to your words. It takes all but 5 minutes to let go. That's all it takes.
Yeah, behind that comes an understanding that related to that victim are some patterns, some habits that then you can start working on. We can think of it as the old phonograph record with the grooves, right? Our habits are the grooves, and we can smooth out the grooves and make it smooth again. And that might that takes some doing, but you can choose to let go of the victim, and the victim can be gone in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we've shared lots of things. So you want to keep the recording going? We're an hour in.
Yeah. No, I think it's time. I need to get busy here. Some text messages came in while we were talking, so I need to answer them. But this has been really great.
Yeah, it's always so I mean, I'm out of words. We enjoy ourselves a lot when we speak, but I think we're doing a big thing for the universe when we do this. I think we are really
Absolutely.
weaving things, and even if it's one person that listens to this, that person is going to really be a key piece in the weaving of what we're doing. And so it's a very powerful work, and we need to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, you have a wonderful day. Thanks, Julian, for joining me on this musing. Again, my name is Ingrid. I'm the Blue Heron Warrior Ingrid. I'm the essence of all that is, ever has been, and can be. And I am consciousness and energy actively engaged in participating in creation for the future of our human race. And we'll see you next week, Julian.
Thank you, Ingrid. It was lovely seeing everybody. Waterfalls of blessings for everybody.
Yep, same.